Welcome back to the LTA. It's the upper bracket finals today at the Riot Games Arena, and our two best teams are gearing up for a battle for a guaranteed spot in the Split 2 finals next weekend. FlyQuest has had a dominant split so far with their deep champion pools, giving them the edge in fearless play, as the whole roster secured first team All-Pro, and Inspired was voted MVP. C9 has been their toughest competition though, with the head-to-head between the two being dead even over the past few years. Will FlyQuest prove they're worthy of all these praises and continue their winning ways? Or have C9 figured out the key to taking down the top dogs? The LTA starts right now. I'm Captain Flowers, joined by Kobe and Azael for this one. Not a single one of our analysts predicted a 3-0. Hell, 3 out of 4 of them predicted a full best of 5, and I'm hoping they're right.
Definitely agree with you, Flowers. We need that full 5-game series. This one, I'm going to say, will deliver because these two teams so hyped up. Despite last matchup between the two teams, you'll remember it was a best of 3, and it was a record-setting best of 3 in FlyQuest's favor, where they were able to get the fastest LTA 2-0 record over Cloud9. But throughout the year, if we count up the individual games, it is even tied 3-3 for this year. So very excited to see how Cloud9 will bounce back with a lot of the extra prep time leading into this one.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm not going to read too much into that series. FlyQuest definitely dominated C9, but like you're saying, you know, in the positioning phase, it was C9 that won last split. It was C9 that won in the best of 3 as well. And first pick for the series going to be the Varus. Not a massive surprise at all.
And let's remember, too, the beginning of the last series that these two teams played, FlyQuest came in cooking. They were the ones where they early picked the Rumble, then they flexed the Rumble down to support, then they had the level 1 plan to get Inspired ahead, and they were able to do that. So let's see. Some split push already opening up here. Ryze for split push and Pantheon for the global. Nice 1-2 from Cloud9.
Absolutely, and I kind of want to track, you know, how FlyQuest is going to play around top lane, because there's a lot of talk about Thanatos versus Bwipo. Last time we had this series, I got to actually interview Bwipo before the series, and he was saying, basically, my whole job is just to neutralize Thanatos. He was seeing Thanatos as the only real win condition for Cloud9, so he said, you know what, my job is to just shut him down.
And I mean, that's a similar story to what Licorice was talking about on the lounge, right? He's saying if C9 is going to win this, it's using Thanatos and it's shutting down the Bwipo win con since FlyQuest want to play around him. But let's see what we've got here as FlyQuest lock in that Cassiopeia for quad. This is a quad special, very often banned against him, and the Alistar for Busio.
Exactly, and it does make me wonder, you know, is there a chance of flexing this away from the Cassio? Because it is not only a quad special, but it's also, you know, that old school counter pick into the Ryze. So you're giving someone his ultimate comfort champ who gets banned against him all the time, even though it's not meta, and you're giving it to him in a matchup that is very favorable for him. It feels almost too obvious, so it does make me wonder, you know, if Thanatos maybe is going to take that Ryze and they're going to do something different like that to try to, you know, surprise them a bit.
I love all the memes that the fans can make signs for and get in on this rivalry too. But I completely agree. Don't
hide that. Be proud.
with the Senna lock in here, you're getting another global ultimate from Cloud9. So they are tripling down on this strategy already. It also does mean that your early lane phase is going to be a bit weak though. Senna pretty weak early on, has to scale up with the souls, and you're playing into a Varus.
I'm expecting to see Nautilus Band is the #1 pairing definitely with that Senna, unless they really want to cook. And the more that they're showing this early 3, I am thinking it's not going to be anything surprising with the Ryze. I think it is just going to be a 5th pick, potential counter pick here in top lane for Thanatos. You know, give him something that can split push, give him something that can really take advantage of that side lane pressure that they're going to be putting on here. You have the Pantheon ult, you have that Senna ult for the 1v1s. I'd really love to see them give Thanatos something a bit spicy in that 1v1.
Well, we will go ahead and see some melee fighters taken off the table here with Renekton and Trundle removed by C9 in the second half of the ban phase. Rumble is the 4th ban for FlyQuest, and their final ban of this draft will be the Bard, focusing towards Vulcan on that one.
Yeah, they're like, okay, so if Vulcan, who already is really good on Bard, also gets a roaming champ in a game where you 1, 2, 3 picks split push champs.
Yorick.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 picks split push map wide play. Like Cloud9 are going to make this map as wide as possible.
I just think Yorick blind is always so risky. There's a lot of good answers into it. You know, even if you don't want to go something that's split pushy as well, like you obviously have things like Camille, like Fiora, like Aurelia, but Cho'Gath is great, Sion is great. There's a lot of really strong answers. that it's kind of crazy to me to be putting all this emphasis towards split push, and then you're just going to blind Yorick for that. And so it is going to be Cho'Gath can literally one-shot feast the Maiden at level 6 when you summon it. And it is an over 2-minute cooldown. So it is really tough. Like, you pop the Maiden out, that is so much of your power, he just feasts that, instantly gets a stack, and it's dead.
And I would have to say, because I 100% agree, this 5th pick better be a banger, because they didn't have to blind pick this.
No.
They are red side. They could red side 5 pick if they wanted to, and they're leaving it for surprise. Let's
LS
see.
in the house here.
LS joining us for the co-stream across the studio there, as we do have the Zhao locked in here for FlyQuest. Final pick of their draft is their jungler, and it's a pretty standard deal. As C9, we still got to see what is locked in for that support position for Vulcan.
If it's Nautilus, it's just like the most obvious pairing with Senna. I called it out even as soon as they pick Senna on 3. That is the most common pairing there. And it's looking like they've been sitting on it for a long time. Okay, so it's Rell, but nothing that's going to really like warp the game whatsoever. It's just an engaged champion, so I don't get why you blinded Yorick there at all, unless they were worried that Bwipo was going to blind it and take it away. But
also, to make it even funnier, it's into an Alistar, which is usually the counter to Rell anyway, and so you're
They'll never expect me to counterpick myself on 5.
Am I counterpicking myself on red 5 here in order to blind pick? Okay. Anyways, we'll see how it plays out, boys.
I like FlyQuest draft way more. I feel like they're on blue side, and they have counterpick in both the solo lanes and the support role.
Okay, so what I'm picking up here is you guys are saying FlyQuest won the draft.
I feel like FlyQuest hard won the draft. I mean, I do think that you obviously have a lot of power to play through side lanes, and the draft is not going to guarantee the win by any means. If Blaber can get these solo lanes ahead, then advantages in those 1v1s don't necessarily matter, and maybe you can really take over in the side lanes, get that pressure rolling. But I think if they don't get the pressure rolling early here for the Ryze or for that Yorick, I think they really are going to struggle later on into the game.
Yeah, I will say the cohesive plan is very clearly for Cloud9.
We'll push.
We are going to split push from from the first pick of the draft all the way through here. So they are going to hard commit to this, and we'll see. Especially, like you're saying, if Blaber does get ahead, Pantheon definitely can snowball. The point and click stun is very good for a lot of skirmishes, particularly towards the top side of the map, maybe. And then he gets to use his ultimate to move around. Maybe Cloud9 can draw this map out.
And Cho'Gath is super easy to gank. This champion is so slow, has no dashes. It is very easy to gank. It is very easy to get that setup, with the Yorick cage. So I do think there really are opportunities for them to try to punish Bwipo here early. And if you can put the Cho'Gath down early, this champion can become really worthless. He's going to just become food. But if you don't, he's going to sustain off the ghouls. He can kill them very easily with all his abilities being AoE. He just gets extra HP and mana back constantly from killing off these ghouls. He's going to be feasting the Maiden every time that thing is summoned up.
Yeah.
It's tough for Yorick.
I mean, it's just the nature of Cho'Gath kind of being, he is very much a Season 1 type of champion, right? Yep. Like, if he doesn't have access to the wave, all of the sustain from the character completely disappears, and that 1v1 is not going to be super pleasant. So let's see what we get here at the start of things. Doesn't look like anybody's going to go for any crazy creative level 1s here.
Yeah, they did. Cloud9, though, has so much information. So Cloud9, I do really like what they're starting out with. They got super deep wards on blue buff and on the Raptors here, and they're actually starting with a steal away for Blaber on the Raptor camp. So Inspired starting his Wolves on the opposite side, assuming he does go over to blue and Gromp right after, is going to get seen by that ward. And Cloud9 have decided we are splitting this map. They want to split it for bottom side, and the defensive ward on your red does see the Pantheon, so here comes Inspired.
Yeah, so Inspired just went Wolves, and now he's going down. He's going to get the bad news here of the Raptors are gone, and obviously we'll be able to push him out as Busio comes over, so they will be able to defend the red, which is quite nice.
Oh, but now there's already a problem. Quad just gets caught here in the river, or does he? Flashing forward for the Twin Fang. It's first blood over to FlyQuest mid laner. He sets the bait and reels it in himself.
The defensive ward on their red buff sees it all unfold, and Blaber goes down for first blood already. FlyQuest with an early lead in the game.
I mean, it was looking dicey for a moment there for Busio, rather for Quad, but Busio arrives with the heal, is able to keep him alive. give him that extra HP to be able to flash forward and finish off Blaber. And that is fantastic. Now he gets a super early tier off of that kill. Here he was spotted out one more time. Inspire just quickly moves over to intercept. In comes Quad, and this is where you're thinking, all right, well, he's going to get pincered by Loki. He could be in some trouble, but because Busio had the roam, he has the summoner heal. It's enough for Quad to stay alive and go in to finish him off.
Yeah, and, you know, Blaber throws an extra couple autos into the Cassio instead of just straight booking it after stunning the Cassio. And so they do get that kill. Both flashes blown, so usually junglers will want revenge for stuff like that.
Yep, that's what happens to me.
Yeah, so Blaber, you know, if you're sitting in Blaber's
Emotional
shoes,
gameplay.
you're usually like, you know what? I'm going to go gank that Cassio.
So this is actually predictions. We got predictions from 3 players from every single team in the league. You will note only one player outside of Cloud9 predicted Cloud9. It is Licorice. Obviously, Cloud9 members predicted themselves. But every other team, all 3 players, did predict FlyQuest to win. So very clearly from scrims, people heavily favoring them. I do think it's going to be a good series. I kind of have that feeling that's going to be a lot closer because it does feel like people are... The pendulum has swung too far the other way. People are underestimating Cloud9.
Well, there was also very few 3-2s in those predictions. 1 or maybe 2. So a lot of players not expecting this one to go the full distance, but I gotta argue against that perspective in this one. I would love to get the full 5, really see the fearless drafts be pushed to their limit in this series for the upper bracket finals as Vulcan just takes a little bit of damage here with Busio and Massu trying to get the wave shoved in. Zven up to 11 stacks on the Senna, so everything pretty standard here. We'll check back in on that as the game goes forward at a couple of different breakpoints to see how well he's doing because he is going to need to get strong.
I mean, you can see this right here is one of the reasons that this is a pretty good matchup. You summon those ghouls, Bwipo healed off the ghouls, right? Like, you're just going to be able to sustain. Obviously, as you do scale up on the Yorick, it gets harder to kill those ghouls. It starts to take multiple hits. But because all of your damage is AoE, it's very easy to just kind of cleave it down. And is Emax kind of as expected now with some of these changes. Bwipo's just going to be going full tank. And is going to be level 6 here, you know, on the next wave after he TP's back. And that's where I'm interested to see, like, has Thanatos actually played this matchup? Does he realize that his maiden is literally one-shot if he summons it right at 6? Or is he going to hold on to it? Because sometimes players in these kind of matchups, you just don't actually use your maiden unless a gank comes or something like that to then be able to force the pressure. Plus, if you just don't summon your maiden for a long time and you just keep farming, is he just going to sit on his feast the whole time and not get feast stacks? You know, it can become this a little bit of a weird mind game. But if you haven't played the matchup and you don't know, you're going to summon that thing, and it's just going to get instantly eaten.
And so far, pre-6, Thanatos has been doing quite well in the matchup, so we'll see if that does continue. Of course, after the early jungle skirmish, both junglers just back into the full clears right after all that action. And they both have their first recalls, but they will be slightly delayed for Blaber.
Okay, so interestingly enough, I mean, no huge gold leads in this game. The biggest one actually being tied for Thanatos versus Bwipo up there in the top side, along with the support head-to-head, as once more it's Busio and Massu looking to trade with Vulcan and Zven, but not having a great time with that back and forth.
And I will say it's pretty surprising that it's actually, you know, almost no gold lead for Quad in the mid lane. He did get that kill, but he did get chunked out, right? So it did mean he had to base after. Loki has really done well in that 1v1 as a result. And there you see it, and now you don't. So I don't think Thanatos is a knower, unfortunately. I do not think he has played this matchup because
now you know.
I've played a lot of Yorick, and I've played this matchup, and you don't think that's going to work that way, and then you realize, huh.
You summon it, and all of a sudden you're looking at the 2.5-minute cooldown on your maiden icon.
Your ultimate tooltip just says, gives Cho'Gath 1 stack of Feast.
It also makes me extra salty as a jungler because they turbo nerfed Smite. I used to be able to smite Tibbers and, you know, all the, you know, Yorick maiden and stuff like that.
You're like, I want to do that.
It would annihilate them. And now it's pitiful. Smite just barely does anything to them.
All right, Inspired moving through his own jungle here. Level 5 on the Xin Zhao is slightly behind Blaber in terms of EXP, so Cloud9's jungler not being set too far behind there with that first death that he unfortunately incurred going for the early invade on the enemy red. Thanatos left to just try to farm up, and you've already talked about how everything in Cho'Gath's kit is AoE. It pretty much guarantees that unless Blaber or Loki is making their way up here to try to do something, it's so easy for Bwipo to have priority.
Yeah, I mean, the matchup actually just gets worse for Yorick, and the fact that he early summoned and wasted the maiden like that means Feast is going to be back up immediately off cooldown, and he's just going to be able to continue feasting things off CD. Because I don't think we're going to see too much here.
Vulcan wants to keep going for it, though. Massu having to spend both summoner spells as now Blaber ready to try to flash forward to grab the kill. And there it is, the point-blank spear to seal the deal. Loki's making his way into the fight as C9 now have a 4-man squad ready to go after Bwipo as he arrives with the teleport. Bwipo caught up in the rune prison now. The chain CC is extreme, but bodyguard Busio bails him out.
That is actually so bad for Bwipo and so good for Thanatos as well, because Thanatos now gets a free push the wave. We do see quads moving up, but Yorick just blasts towers, and he does have Demolish, so he's probably going to get a plate.
It's 2 of them moving up, see if they can actually force Thanatos' flash.
All right, Quad's going to lead the way, sidesteps out of the cage. Inspired, ready to back him up here. Thanatos just trying to walk it off. Inspired, saving the audacious charge. No way out of that miasma. A little bit more damage will do it, and Quad gets the kill.
And there can go right over to the Grubs after this as well for Inspired. So 2 kills now onto the Cassiopeia. And this is one of Quad's signature picks, as we mentioned in Champion Select. So getting a little bit dicey there in the aftermath. Cloud9, though, good move on the bomb side of the map. You know, good proactive Pantheon ultimate down there for a gank. They already have spread out into their split push, so they left Loki on the bottom side to push in that wave at the tower.
Yep, and you're going to see Bwipo's going back down towards bot. They have Quad TB back out towards top to cover the grub take. They will get all 3 grubs here for FlyQuest. Going to be feeling really good about that. Obviously beneficial for your team, but also important when you're playing against Yorick to just deny it from Yorick. You do not want to enable his split push even more. He is going to spend an abnormal amount of time in those side lanes.
Well, we will go ahead and get that extra little bit of plate money up there for Quad's Cassiopeia as well. Looking back over here at the mid lane, Massu and Busio both level 6. Only Zven also level 6 on the C9 side, though, as Vulcan still needs a little bit more EXP to get there. Bwipo unafraid of trading with Loki down here in this bottom side head-to-head, as the Rupture doesn't find the target, so pretty difficult for Bwipo to do anything else at that point. First Drake is still alive. No attention paid towards that one in the first 9.5 minutes.
And one of the kind of easy tells on if the Cho'Gath thinks he's actually going to have any sort of pressure or, in the 1v1 is if he's holding his feast. And right now he's not using the feast on a minion. He is going to keep that cooldown up and available to potentially look for a fight.
Ooh, Blaber finding Inspired here. The Zhao has secured the Scuttle Crab already, and now Inspired's ready to try to turn this back around. A nice Rupture coming in from Bwipo. Blaber throws up the shield. He's trying to escape in time. A little bit more damage is still required, and the Feat of Warfare is going to be claimed by FlyQuest. Now Bwipo, stuck in a 1v3, will end up being an even trade.
Bwipo does get the kill, but just barely missed out on the feast stack. Took Blaber down to maybe 5% or even less health with that. So going to be a bit sad that he doesn't actually get that feast stack. Still going to be feeling pretty good about it, though.
Yeah, because the ramifications are in the minion waves that happen afterwards, and the Ryze got to push bottom after the skirmish, but here's another look at how it actually happened, them going super far in on it. Blaber then puts up the shield for Pantheon. Bwipo holds his feast till it is off, tries to go for it, but just barely didn't have enough. Then he can finish it off with an auto, though, and it is a 1-4-1.
Ooh, Massu in some trouble as he gets caught up in Zven's lockdown. Blaber's there to back him up, and it's an easy pick for C9 to make it a 3-3 game.
That's Blaber's ult. As soon as it came back up, it was up before the cleanse, before the flash that he forced last time onto Massu, so just goes right for him and is able to get that first kill, and now a second just repeating onto Massu.
And getting a dragon is quite huge for them. Here's a look at the replay in the picture-in-picture and how it just happened. Nice little slow there from Zven to start it out. And they're able to lock him down. Let's take another look, though. Bwipo back up with the Maiden, and the Maiden says goodbye.
That Maiden is just lunch, man.
It's one of the dangers because Bwipo was the first player in the LTA to popularize Yorick after the rework. He was one of the first players to put a lot of time into it. And then you pick it versus him, he's got the knowledge of the counter picks to use against you.
And it's weird because I feel like people at first just weren't putting enough priority on the Yorick, but blind picking it, I feel like people are getting baited by playing against just the normal meta champs in scrims, because I think Yorick is really good against some of the most common champions in pro, but it does have a lot of counters, so it's surprising to me to see that it is now just getting blinded. We'll see if they can make it work, though.
Yeah, this is Vulcan committing a lot towards Bwipo's Cho'Gath up here at the top side and not really getting a whole lot back for it. That was the Magnet Storm, and Bwipo's still at 3/4 HP, just walks it off.
He's chilling, and as this goes further and further, he is really going to be very hard to actually punch through for Thanatos. He will be kind of glued to the side lanes, and I will say, as you start getting more ranks into the Maiden, it gets past this point where you can just one-shot, but look at Inspired trying to zone Loki off with Busio.
He's not just zoning, he's going in even further forward, but Loki gets his phase rush proc. He's going to continue taking this defensive stance as Inspired and Busio keep him further and further away, just allowing Quad more and more time to mine money through these turret plates as the third plate falls on the bottom lane tier 1 turret for C9.
And the reason it's such a smart play for FlyQuest to overload bottom side is to continue funneling money onto this Cassiopeia. Quad is critical to this team composition, and as you can see, that is the biggest goal lead in the game. Continue to focus on that lane, funnel as much money as they can off of turret plates while they are still up. You know, it has the Rod of Ages stacking, then the Seraphs is going to be stacking, and Cassio really does scale like a monster for the team fights.
And I think right there we got to see an example, the opposite of what you were talking about earlier, Isaac. Bwipo knows he's got to take a recall anyway. He's got half health, he's got no mana, so he just munches the 3 HP ghoul for the free stack since the cooldown's up to get that one cycling back again. He returns back to the base. He gets his first purchase there with a Heartsteel, and considering these two have been scrapping back and forth so consistently, you'd think he should be able to get quite a few procs off of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just kind of how Yorick works, right? Like you queue the enemy to get Graves. You obviously can do that with last hits as well, but you're going to be trading. Thanatos also did go Grass, so he went more the early game, kind of build here instead of going Conqueror, where you're going to scale a little bit better in those 1v1s. But really interested to see how he's going to be able to play this out. If he's going to be able to get pressure in the side lane, or if he'll just have to basically show up to team fights and just try to play it out as a Yorick in a 5v5.
All right, Thanatos clearing some distance away from Busio down here in the bottom lane. Yet again, 1 minute until the Rift Herald spawns. That'll be our next neutral objective we fight over, with the Infernal Drake still 2 minutes out.
Yeah, you can see on the minimap as well that play for the brush attempt, walking straight over the ward into top lane.
Still there, by the way. He's wasted a lot of time.
Yeah, he's channeling his recall right now, so he is getting out of there, but it is a decent commitment up to the top side. But then again, with Inspired, you always look at what was he giving up during that, and all his camps were fully cleared. The Raptors just spawning now, and Vulcan is actually there first on that spawn of Raptors to get the ward. So we'll see if this extra vision that Inspired does not know about ends up punishing him.
Yeah, Blaber immediately moving forward to join back up with Vulcan. They know that Inspired's here. They're looking to at least try to contest this chicken camp, but Inspired has already secured the big one, and most of the small ones, these last couple, just going to be left on their loan. So those are just the Senna Souls, never mind. Instead, those look like snowflakes. I don't know why I thought they were chickens, but C9 not really going to get a whole lot off of the vision that they placed down, as Inspired can just keep the farm going.
The souls of chickens.
Yeah, the souls of chickens were snowflakes all along. League of Legends.
The bodies are already gone.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The poor little chickens are nothing but bones. A little bit. FlyQuest, though, with control over this topside river. You can see the control ward down in the line brush to the top side of mid. Scuttlecrab just now spawns as Massu, Busio, and Inspired will take care of that one first, and then continue trying to lock up these neutral objectives going after the Herald itself.
And I'm expecting Bwipo to come down, get a feast stack there, because these neutral objectives do give you the unlimited cap feast stacks. It doesn't count towards minions. They will be able to take down this tower on bot side, though, as they are overloading this side, and Quad may have trouble actually defending here. They can keep pushing.
Yeah, here comes Blaber immediately arriving with the Grand Starfall, but now C9, they know they probably won't be able to get a whole lot more here. A couple little Krugs randomly wandering into the lane as well.
Yeah, they consciously used the teleport from Loki because they wanted to trade that Rift Herald for bottom side. The Dragon, though, is still 20 seconds away, so they will leave behind a bunch of this vision through the red quadrant in the jungle leading up to the Dragon. Maybe that will be very beneficial if there's any sort of contest from FlyQuest, but FlyQuest actually get not only the Herald, but a lot of damage on the top tower too.
Yeah, not the biggest deal, but Bwipo actually used his feast on the Herald and missed it. So he didn't actually get the last hit there, and he was really close on the one on Blaber earlier. So those are the two uncapped ones that he went for and didn't actually get those feast stacks. So is a little bit behind where he would want to be with that. And he is going more for this aggressive build. So you can see he is picking up the Haunting Guys, and he is going to build a little bit of AP.
Okay, we've got the Herald summoned up mid by FlyQuest to immediately force down the tier 1 turret, so they'll take that one, get a very slight gold lead off of it. Important to note here as well, it's the kills feat for FlyQuest, it's the turret feat for C9. It's all going to come down to these neutral objectives. FlyQuest is already at 2 with the Grubs and then the Herald that they secured, while C9 has the first Drake. So if FlyQuest can get this next Drake, it's also going to give them the boot reward as Bwipo just continues trading with Thanatos up here. The Maiden now with 2,000 HP, going to get knocked up into the air. Bwipo gets put in the cage, but he doesn't care about it a whole lot just yet. The Maiden still doing some good damage, though, back onto the Cho'Gath.
Yeah, it is getting low, though, now, so it's getting close to feast range, so he's probably going to feast it again. You can't just one-shot anymore, but we're fighting on bot side.
Yeah, bottom side, we've already got the fight over the Drake, as immediately it's going to be claimed by C9 and Blaber, but now he's got to be careful. The Rell morph, Loki trying to get the rest of the team out of here, as now Blaber's going to be caught over the wall, and a beautiful shot from Massu to finish him off. That's 2 kills going for FlyQuest. C9 might have got the objective, but it's FlyQuest with the punish.
Yeah, let's see what FlyQuest can do on the map in the aftermath. It's at least going to be some blue and Gromp steal away there for Inspired. You have to imagine Cassio will be given solo tower gold on the bottom tower. That is down there as well to funnel more money into Quad. Again, this is 3-kill Cassio. 7 stacks on the Rod of Ages so far. Seraphs is fully transformed. Extra gold being funneled in. I will say for Cloud9, like, they wanted to get some dragons so that they wouldn't have to get pulled over there later so they can actually do their split push, but they do get caught here trying to exit.
Yeah, and the Miasma just barely tagged Loki as he was trying to dodge back and forth on that Realm Morph, and that is what canceled it. They both had to flash over the wall, but even with the double flash over the wall, they both die anyway, so that is a costly exit there for Cloud9. At the very least, lucky that Blaber was able to secure that Q Smite on Pantheon. Obviously a very good Smite secure. So he was able to claim it, but that would have been a disaster otherwise.
I mean, man, we always talk about Quad with this pocket pick Cassiopeia. Teams always ban it against him. It gets through in game 1 here in this upper bracket final. He's off to a 3-0 start. He's got all the tools he needs to carry this game, as now the top lane tier 1 turret about to fall. Bwipo crashing the wave into that one. Brings the gold lead for FlyQuest up to about 3,000, not even 20 minutes into the game. I'd say they got to be really happy about the state of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see Quad, big early advantage here, over 1K ahead at 14. Really looking good on this Cassio. And Riftmaker second, I touched on that for Bwipo. He is going more of kind of that aggressive build, that dueling build. He does like to do this a lot on a lot of tanks he plays. Obviously on Sign, you always see him going for Titanic and for Overload's Bloodmail and Sterix rather than the pure tank. He wants to be able to put out some threat. This does allow you to do that, has that little bit of extra threat. If you're just trying to ignore this guy and fight past him to get in onto Quad, you can definitely punish someone when you go a bit more of these kind of AP bruisery builds.
See how well that works out for him, as there probably is going to be another bigger fight coming up here soon. We do have the Otacon spawning in less than 30 seconds. Meanwhile, the Dragon going to spawn in about 2.5 minutes here. So if nobody has the confidence to go after the Otacon, considering both teams are now at 2 neutral objectives each, I do expect this next Dragon to be a guaranteed battlefield.
Big thing, too, for Cloud9 is they're the team that wants to try and play open map with Realm Warps and Pantheon ults and, split pushing.
Yeah.
However, they're the team that's down in outer turrets because of the success of FlyQuest with this gold lead you're talking about early on. So it has become a little bit of a difficult situation. That being said, if they can even up those turrets, like there is a decent amount of standing gold in those towers,
They're just starting Otacon.
That will cut down on it very quickly. But Bwipo will start it out himself, and you still have Thanatos on the top side.
Although for this, they're going to go.
Yeah, Cassiopeia is very fast at taking neutral objectives because of the high DPS nature of her kit. So Quad and Bwipo, they've already got this down to about half HP. C9 not moving towards it. Busio still just hanging out over the wall in case somebody tries to approach from the Tri-Brush. Yeah, this one's already done. They want to give the feast over to Bwipo, and it looks like he secures that one. Thornbound Otacon goes FlyQuest's way alongside the boot reward, not even 21 minutes into the game.
Yeah, and you definitely... you agree with that call, right, for Cloud9. You don't want to actually fight right now. The Cassio had the tick over with the 10 for the extra level on the Rod of Ages. Plus, after getting the Otacon with all the extra experience of the flowers, got up to a 2-level lead here. It is level 15 for him over Loki. So definitely would be dangerous, like walking into a small corridor versus a team that is better set up for team fighting.
You can see these are the average Senna stacks at 14 at 20, so we just passed the 20-minute mark. We're at 21 now, and Zven has 61, where the average at 20 is 72 stacks, so a bit behind the curve as far as that goes. Hasn't really been involved in a lot of scrapping. He's mostly just been kind of catching waves, which means he is not getting an incredible amount of souls. But this game does feel like it is heading along, and because Cloud9 got 2 early dragons, that's likely to extend it if they want to turtle up.
Right.
It'll take a long time for Soul and Elder and all this stuff to be able to be out there. So he has a lot of time to continue getting those souls, and we have seen a number of Senna games where it just gets to a certain point where they're hitting 120, 140 stacks, and they're on the other side of your screen, and they are killing you.
Yeah, and that the real test of this game is going to be how the mid game goes and how Cloud9 can spread it out and use a lot of their range. They were able to, of course, take the top side tower, so now at least both the side lanes are open for play for them. Mid lane for FlyQuest, though, they've done a good job of defending that one, so they still have that defense. But now we get to start to see the fun stuff that Cloud9 had in mind with their draft, where it is trailing split push from Loki here on the Ryze with his Realm Warp ready.
And once you hit 16, especially for the Yorick, the Maiden just has so much health that then it actually becomes really annoying to actually kill it off as the Cho'Gath. You have to really work it down before you can feast it. You know, yes, your feast damage goes up, but it doesn't scale nearly as much as the Maiden's health does.
All right. Important to note, you talked about the Rod of Ages for Quad's Cassiopeia proccing, giving that extra level. He is more than 2 full levels ahead of Loki in terms of EXP, has now inspired, has stepped into the enemy jungle, takes a little bit of damage. Blaber with a nice secure there onto the blue buff, but now he's in danger himself. Bwipo ready to join up here in the fight as Vulcan tries to go for an engage, but Inspired doing a good job staying alive there with the ulti. Quad with the flash back over the wall, but Quad is shut down. Big movement there for C9, but FlyQuest are not yet finished. They're going in after Zven. Inspired, but the wind becomes lightning. But a nice shutdown back over to Loki as he picks up the kill onto Bwipo's Cho'Gath. Now FlyQuest have to try to exfiltrate the hot zone and do it without losing anybody else. C9 trying to cut him off. Thanatos gets another heal from Zven. Massu, Inspired, and Busio, or just Massu and Busio trying to walk out through the bottom lane now as Inspired is grabbing himself a Gromp. Blaber rejoins with a Grand Starfall. It's a 4v2. FlyQuest turn away. This one's about to get ugly. Massu wants to bring somebody with him. He flashes back out. Blaber stays alive. A double kill for Zven Senna. C9 take the lead.
That was so well played by Cloud9 on multiple levels. So the early skirmish does look like there's going to be a big wombo from FlyQuest, but then they have really, really good kiting here back towards the pit. Teleport comes in from Bwipo, so he tries to move over from the other side. Then they get this big amount of pressure onto Quad, forcing his flash, and Blaber actually taking him down. Here's where it got dicey, though, because Zven had to kite for his life on the top side. You see these 3 people. He flashes away. He's able to slow Inspired. All the while, Loki that left him with the Realm Warp got to circle back around, get the kill onto Bwipo, and then buy time for Blaber's ult to rejoin.
And honestly, I just think such a big mistake in this fight was Bwipo just taking this extended 1v1 against Thanatos that he was losing. Like, he spent the entire fight just autoing Thanatos in a losing fight instead of joining with the rest of his team. I think his thought process was he's just marking them and his team would win the 4v4 without him, but it is not what happened. He gives up his flash, he gives up his life for free on the other side, but he could have just guaranteed some kills with the feast.
FlyQuest thought they had it all figured out, but C9 play the fight like absolute cinema. Problem is, Blaber's got to try to get away now from Bwipo. If you want to watch some cinema, reminder that you can also join a Regal watch party when finals come around to enjoy the show with some other like-minded fans. Maybe get some free stuff the same way C9 got some free bags of gold when FlyQuest walked into the jungle.
And we said this is going to be the exciting part of this game, where the two strategies really get to clash. And because Cloud9, like we were pointing out, got those early dragons, they don't have to be drawn to a certain point of the map by FlyQuest. So we really get to see if they can flex their mobility here. But very important, keep that vision on the Baron. Both teams actually do have very decent Baron damage, especially the team with the Cassiopeia. So always have to keep your positioning on the map as well as your vision of the Baron in mind. Cho'Gath, of course, lending that feast just makes smite securing super duper 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 easy.
Super duper duper duper. 3 dupers on that super.
Bwipo only has 1 non-guaranteed feast stack, though, because he wasn't able to get any from champions. He only got that 1 later. Now he's looking for Thanatos.
Yeah, Thanatos about to meet a whole lot of FlyQuest pressure as Loki Realm Warps up into the lane, but it's still pretty hard to do anything here. You're still vastly outnumbered for the time being. Zven's ulti is not nearly enough to save Thanatos. Bwipo loses half HP in the fight, but that doesn't matter too much. 45 seconds with the C9 top laner dead.
Yeah, they do actually get that kill again. Not able to get the feast stack, unfortunately. At first, oh, they're just going to start this. They're just going to start the Baron right now.
Okay, C9 on the approach. They got themselves in a 4v5. They've got to try to stop FlyQuest from being able to secure this objective. Right now, Inspired and Quad just 2-manning the DPS as Massu and Busio try to interfere on the C9 approach. Busio immediately jumping in for the headbutt pulverize onto Blaber. Quad moves up to throw the miasma down, and Blaber's out of the picture. Enemy jungler taken care of. FlyQuest never even dropped aggro on the Baron. They're going right back into the pit to finish what they started. It's Baron for Fly, 27 minutes in.
And it's all because they got that super easy pick onto one of the Cloud9 split pushers. Thanatos was up here pushing on this side of the map, but they had no pressure in the other lanes. And so they were unable to get anything. Let's see, we have a little malfunction here. There we go.
Yeah, we're back.
They were unable to get anything for themselves while he got picked off. And so FlyQuest returned the Baron. Really good from them. Now let's see how much can they get with this Baron empowered pushing for them. The siege will be very easy. The dragon will be very easy as well.
Well, we're kind of seeing the reality of what we talked about a little bit earlier with C9 at least being able to buy themselves time to not have to contest these dragons with the early ones they secured. This would be a whole lot scarier if you didn't have those first couple, if FlyQuest was now on Soul Point, or even worse, the Soul itself. But still, just tied up 2-2 in the Drake count. Bwipo going to move right back up here into the defensive position to neutralize Thanatos' split push. You've got a 3-man squad of the bot lane duo plus jungler there in the mid lane for Fly, while Quad is also moving to join up with everybody else. No real strong pushes in any one direction, though.
Yeah, not at all. They haven't really been able to get too much pressure going. It seems like it was just they're going to take the gold from the Red Bull Baron. They're going to see what they can get with it, but not really aggressively committing to anything. Inspire was still just doing his camps. Now it looks like they want to move forward here a little bit, get some vision on the top side, and I think they want to bounce between the mid lane and the top lane tier 2, try to take at least one, if not both of those, and they've cleared out so much of this vision now in the C9 jungle that this top lane tier 2 is going to be very difficult to defend. This one looks like it's pretty much guaranteed to go down, and it's going to be a nice injection of gold.
Yeah, I don't think Thanatos or the Maiden or the Ghouls or anybody is walking up to save that one, as Busio is launched by the Blast Cone further forward to see if maybe there's a wraparound angle to go ahead and assist Bwipo, but now Busio has already lost almost all of his life. The Senna ulti flies out. Busio survives and does not spend the Unbreakable Will to do it. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Loki was pushing the whole time. He claims a tier 2. Now, FlyQuest is going to trade 1-for-1 on those as they take one in mid lane. Ultimately ends up being a 2-for-1 alongside that tier 2 top that got claimed, but C9 at least fighting back, trading something for what FlyQuest is bringing.
Yeah, they have to stick to their strategy. They are fully all in on this, and it works out quite nicely, given the situation that they were in. To be able to get a tier 2 down there is a bunch of gold for Loki, for the Ryze here, so that's going to be important because you see he's got double needlessly large rods in inventory, and since he has not broken the arm guard yet, he can use both of those to make a death cap. Does not need to upgrade to the Zhonyas just now.
You can see Quad already level 18 now, so no more room for him to grow. And he does have the components of the Zhonyas, but he can do the same thing that you're talking about for Loki. You know, if he doesn't actually have to use that Seekers, he can just go towards the death cap, get that Zhonyas later on. Of course, one of the nice things about Cassio, it's rare that you get to these super late games, but you can go, 6 true items because you don't need boots. So it is always beneficial if you have a super late game on Cassio because you don't have to give up move speed to actually go for a true 6-item build.
Well, the Baron has now expired. 2.5 minutes until the next one's alive. About the exact same timer, almost there on the Drake as well. We'll see how that ends up shaking out once we get a little further along. You can see 3-item power spikes coming along up here in the top side as Bwipo now has the Unending Despair next to that Riftmaker and Heartsteel from earlier. 3 fully completed items for Massu's Varus as well. But the same thing for Zven's Senna, which is now also up to 90 stacks.
Yeah, that thing's going to keep on scaling. And Cloud9, since they do have so much threat of picks with the Realm Warp, with the Pantheon, Ultimate Heal, Ultimate available, it's going to be very interesting how they play the next 5 minutes of this game. If they can continue to extend it, continue to get more souls there for Zven, and get that range to an untenable situation, people have become very accustomed to what Senna looks like now with the soul generation buffs that were given to her in the late game.
26-15 in regards to the flower petals as well. Honestly, that's not as much of a gap as I might expect, considering the fact that FlyQuest claimed the Otacon so super early. Cloud9 have at least been able to keep that relatively close overall. 2,000 gold lead for Fly feels pretty good, but again, it's less than the highest gold lead that they had in the game more than 10 minutes ago. Yeah. So C9 hasn't really allowed themselves to be bled out further.
I don't think the gold lead is super relevant, but at the same time, obviously, we do have this super tanky front line for Bwipo here. He hits level 18 now. He does have 2 Mountain Dragons. If they're allowed to continue stacking towards Soul, like if you get a 4 Mountain Dragon Soul with a Cho'Gath in the front line, it is going to be so hard to actually punch through this guy. I keep harping on it, but he is very behind the curve as far as his fee stacks as well. So you would expect him to have, a number of extra fee stacks, even just from neutrals, not even from kills. And that does mean it's harder to get every subsequent one because you're missing the health, you're missing the extra damage.
And the thing about the front line is very critical because they also have Guardian Angel on the Zhao. That plus the ultimate buys a lot of time, plus then the Alistar ultimate. So here we go. We got the zoom in on the big Cho.
He only has one non-guaranteed. The one epic was the Rift Herald, I believe he got.
Yeah.
He hasn't got a single one off of the champions. He missed. No, it wasn't the Rift Herald. I think it was it was the Otacon. He got the Otacon one. He missed the one on Rift Herald, even though he was there. Hasn't been there to feast any of the dragons. Wasn't there to feast the grubs. Hasn't gotten any last hits on the champions. So definitely is a lot of a slower game for him. But he's obviously comfortable. He's doing his job. And Thanatos is the one that I think has more pressure to get something done.
And I want to see Cloud9 continue to pressure side lanes here because Dragon is up, and so FlyQuest want to go get it. But it is only number 3. They were making the move to try and pick Bwipo and try to play to this Baron side of the map. But FlyQuest are just pushing up mid to get mid prow first.
Okay, Busio going to clear out some vision here. Blaber and Loki are lying in wait, ready to back up Thanatos if they need to. C9 has to have it in their minds how the last Baron went over to FlyQuest with Thanatos getting picked.
Quad is just going to solo the Dragon. They spot everyone over here. They know that they can't do Baron in their face. So Quad just goes down. They have vision of everything. He'll be able to grab this Dragon uncontested. And it should be Fly moving to Soul Point here. Triple Mountain Dragon is going to make them so incredibly tanky.
And as Quad gets it low, Inspired is going to make his way over just in case there's no chance for Blaber to do a crazy entry into the pit like what you're seeing right there. Blaber makes his way over as Inspired and Quad are ready to fight back. Busio and Massu off to the side of the fight as Bwipo is ready to teleport in right on top of everybody else. Tons of damage here on the Vulcan as Massu is firing straight through his heart. Blaber's already down to the snake bite venom. FlyQuest have already claimed 2. Loki's trying to run away. He has to flash just to not be caught as the 3rd casualty. FlyQuest will take the objective, they will take the gifted kills, and they will take their leave as they head over to Baron.
Yeah, they can go and start that thing up, and you still have a very dangerous turn. Blaber is down, so no smite steal. It would have to be a miracle steal if Cloud9 wanted to say anything about this. I have to say, though, that play, really, really good. Wait a second.
Okay, Bwipo might have walked into some trouble because Loki's ready to TP in and join Thanatos here for the 2v1 against the FlyQuest top laner. But now Bwipo's got a little bit of backup as well. Quad makes his way down to the fight with his own TP to try to keep Bwipo alive. Now he's got the miasma out. Thanatos trying to catch up. Zven looking for the damage, but Bwipo stays alive. Saving Private Bwipo is the name of the movie, and Quad is the star actor. A double kill for the FlyQuest mid laner, and Busio is ready to line it up for number 3. Bwipo gets his shield and walks right back away. Quad grabs another one, and FlyQuest just dance around him.
In Bwipo's time of need, Quad is there on his signature pick. That Fan Cassio comes up huge with the teleport. He defends his teammate, and FlyQuest with the Baron are going to take C9 buildings.
Yeah, Quad is already up over 3K. I mean, Loki TP'd in way earlier, but anything you could do, I can do better. Quad shows up. Even with the Senna there, it just didn't even matter. They're cracking the base, and there's still some time on these death timers here. They could potentially just go to try to end it.
Yeah, it's 5 seconds on Thanatos, 10 on Loki, 15 on Zven. They're going to go for double inhib at least. They've still got the Baron for another 2 minutes almost. FlyQuest continuing their push, continuing their pressure. The waves will be forced down. They've got 2 waves ready to crash into the Nexus turrets at the same time. A ton of damage onto that first Nexus turret already killed as the Vulcan goes in for a big 2-man Magnet Storm. They need more damage to kill Quad. Blaber makes his way towards the FlyQuest mid laner, but where is the damage? Where is the threat? Quad with a flash away to stay alive as Inspired kills Zven in a 1v2 in the backline at the same time. He's got the Guardian Angel. He will resurrect as Massu goes on a killing spree and Loki goes down. C9 melts as FlyQuest have made their way onto the Nexus itself. They will take game 1 of this series.
Well played to FlyQuest there. Quad, the big star in this one, got fed early and showed us just why that Cassio is so frequently banned against him.